Aloha and welcome to Robin's Craft Room. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to make a simple accordion fold album. This album has two covers and it uses just one piece of cardstock to make this lovely album that anyone can sit on a table or desk. For the basic album you will need one piece of 8.5 by 11 inch cardstock. Today I'm using Stampin' Up's Baja Breeze cardstock. You'll also need some adhesive. This is some Stampin' Up! Snail adhesive. Your Fiskars cutter with the scoring blade attached, and a bone folder. Later, we'll make optional front and back covers for the album. For those, you'll need two pieces of cardboard that are 4.5 inches high by 3 3/4 inches wide. I like to use the backing cardboard that ships with Stampin' Up's paper. For one thing, it's free. You'll also need two pieces of designer paper to cover the cardboard. These pieces of paper should be about 5.5 by 4 3/4 inches. If they're a little bit smaller, that's all right. The idea is that we're going to be using them to cover our pieces of cardboard. Today I'm using one of the prints from Stampin' Up's Springtime Vintage Designer Series paper set. Now for the album itself. Life will be much easier if you score the cardstock before you cut it, because you'll have to score just once. Score each piece at 3.5, 7 inches, and 10 inches. There's your scored paper. Now we're going to cut it in half. Here's my cardstock all cut. I use the Stampin' Up! Tabletop cutter to cut my cardstock, and it's just too big to show up in this video, so I went and did it while you weren't looking. I've cut the paper, the cardstock, in half lengthwise. That makes this piece 4 1/4 inches wide. I've cut off the little 1/2 inch piece from just one of the pieces of cardstock. I know from experience that if you cut two pieces off, you're going to have to start all over again. Now fold each piece of cardstock accordion style. Fold this and burnish it with a bone folder, and this will go in the other direction. And finally, since this is the long piece, that little 1/2 inch piece at the end. And I'll do the same thing with this piece and fold it accordion style. It usually doesn't matter how each piece is scored unless you are using textured or printed cardstock and you want a particular side of the cardstock to be on the inside. In this case, the longer piece should be folded valley fold, then mountain fold, and then the short little piece on the end should be a valley fold. Then the shorter piece should be folded mountain fold and valley fold. The two pieces are going to get put together like this. Now I'm ready to apply adhesive to this piece. I'm going to set the edge of the short piece in, close it all up, make sure everything's lined up just right, and then press that short piece down. And your basic album is now done. All you have to do now is decorate it and put in some photos and some journaling. But of course I said we were going to put a cover on this album, and I always like to put a cover on this album. So let's get to that right now. I'm going to back up a bit and tell you that I forgot about two other little pieces of equipment that you're going to need. You're going to need a pair of paper snips, and you're also going to need something with which to write, and I'm using a pen. It doesn't really make any difference. You could use a pencil if you're more comfortable with that. Set those aside. I'm going to lay one piece. I'm going to use this side of the paper, so I'm going to lay that piece face side down and center that cardboard in the middle. This isn't rocket science, so you don't have to get out a ruler and measure all this stuff. It's basic information. I'm going to draw a diagonal line at each corner, just basic, barely grazing the corner of the cardstock. So you can see I've got, you may not be able to see, but there's 4 diagonal lines there. I'm going to remove the cardstock and trim on those lines. I'm not sure if you can hear today, but I've let my dog into the craft room while I'm working. If he promised to be very, very quiet, he seems to be walking around a bit. Alright, now I'm going to put the cardboard back down on top of that paper, and I'm going to fold it and just burnish it with my hand. This is not something that you're going to have to. It's going to be glued down, so you don't really need that bone folder for it. The whole idea with cutting those corners off is to keep from having too many layers of that designer series paper on the corners of the cardstock. That fits very nicely. I'm now going to apply adhesive to each of the sides of the designer series paper. Get this pen out of the way. Right. And I'm going to fold the 2 outside pieces down, and then the top and the bottom. And there you've got one of your covers. I'm going to do the same thing with the other piece of cardboard and designer paper, but not bore you with all the tedious details. And now here we are with our 2 cover pieces and our album, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to apply the cover pieces to the album. First, I'll set one aside and lay one cover piece face down on my work surface. I'm going to apply adhesive to the album itself. And I'm being very generous because I'm going to be giving this album away as a gift. You only need to be careful with the direction that everything is facing if you've planned something very specific to be on the front page and you've already put it in. Otherwise, we'll just lay it. I'm going to be very careful and see if you can see that I'm centering this album on the cover. And there we've got our first cover. And now we're ready to attach the back cover or the front cover, whichever it turns out to be, to the album. I've already applied my adhesive, and I'm going to be very careful to make sure that the front and the back cover of the album line up really well. And there you have your accordion fold album with covers. Here is my finished accordion fold album. You've probably noticed that I didn't add ribbon to tie this album closed. The main reason is that most people to whom I've given one of these albums have them standing up on a table or desk to show off the photos. Just as with this accordion fold album that I gave my husband for Valentine's Day. He has it sitting open on his desk so that he can see photos of us together every day. Thank you for visiting Robin's Craft Room today, and I hope you'll enjoy making your own accordion fold album very soon. Aloha!